Hi everybody, welcome to the latest Wellington community event. I don't know who Wellington are. My name is Emma, I'm the Director of Consulting Services, and with me I have my colleague Karin. Karin, do you want to say hi?
Yes, hi, hello everybody. I'm a senior training consultant at Wellington. Today we're going to be talking about the current state. And to kind of illustrate why this makes sense or set the context for why we're talking about this, I'm just going to do a really brief recap of what change is. And in doing this, kind of the background to this is change management is a huge field, right? It's an enormous discipline with lots of different theories and models. So what we've tried to do here is to boil down the essentials from this wide discipline and to be able to present it in one concise model or theory or framework, maybe we should say, which then we call the 4 elements of change. Okay, now the premise then is that these 4 elements are present in every change and they have to be addressed and managed. If they are not, the change will fail. Okay, so it's quite simple. We've tried to keep it simple, and maybe some of you will say, well, this is quite obvious, but yes, it is obvious. Yet we know that the majority of change initiatives fail. So what is obvious doesn't always mean that they're things that we actually do or take care of, right? The obvious stuff also matter. Anyway, when we talk about change then, what are the 4 elements of change? Well, the first thing we have to have a current state. That is where we are today, how we work today, how we think, feel, and behave today. Now, in the change, our aim is to move away from the current state to the future state. The future state then is where we want to be, how we want to work, how we want to behave, etc. So far, so good, I'm sure. Change then, and change management, is the bridge that connects the current state to the future state. Change management is how we bring people from the current state into the future state. And it's very, very important that we say that right from the start and keep that at the heart of anything about change management. Change management is about people, right? We might call it organizational change. It's not the change of the company or the company structure that is difficult. It's changing the people in the organization, changing how they think, feel, or behave, right? So everything we do has to be centered around people. So we want to get people from the current state into the future state. And then the last element, like Emma said, reinforcement. It's not good enough to just get people over the bridge. We have to also make them want to and be able to stay in the future state, as it were. So all of these elements, as obvious as they are, they have to be addressed and they have to be properly managed, and they have to be addressed in the order that I presented them, right? Current state first, future state second, change, and then reinforcement. We can plan them all up front, but the way the people that go through change have to experience it has to be in that order, or it isn't going to work. So let's start talking about the current state and why the current state matters and why we need to address it and how we actually do that. So first premise, and I am being Captain Obvious today, I am aware of that, but when we talk about change, right? Change is about bringing about something that is new and different, right? We don't do change for things to stay the way they are. So we're doing something that is new and different. And if you're in a change team or you're a change leader, you probably think about that change as something fantastic. Here you come, you're bringing a gift to the people that will be impacted by the change. The problem is, though, the people receiving this change, this glorious gift, as it were, they might not see it that way. Because what they see is, well, this is something new and different, something that I don't really know what it is. This is uncertain, risky, dangerous, scary. New and different means scary, not exciting to the majority of people. And it's easy to think, particularly if you're part of a change team, that people are a bit backwards or a bit slow. Can't they see how great this thing is that I'm doing? But it's human nature to react this way to things that are unfamiliar or unknown, right? It's part of our psychological makeup. And this was something that was picked up in what I think is a fantastic theory for change. It's called the Bridges of Transition. It was created by a guy called William Bridges. And yes, wonderful use of his own name in that model. That's exactly what I would do if I had that sort of name and a theory to name. Anyway, I don't. Here we are. So what William Bridges said, he picked up on this, that people cling on to what is familiar. And he said that you have to make a difference between change being the things that you can plan, the mechanisms, the switch, right? You replace one system with another, etc. That's change, okay? That's easy, relatively. And you have to make a difference between change and transition. Transition being the internal psychological processes that a person goes through as they are embracing the future state. And what's really important, and this is a key point, without transition, there will not be any change, right? You can swap out processes, swap out tools all day long. Nothing will be different. You won't achieve any results unless you also help people make that transition. And a person cannot make the transition, they cannot embrace the future state if they do not first give up or let go of the current state. So the first challenge for anyone leading a change or a part of a change team is, how do we encourage people? How do we help people to let go of the current state? Okay, and this is challenging because we are psychologically hardwired to hang on to what is familiar, what is safe, what is comfortable. And people will resist giving up the current state no matter what. So you'll see a lot of people make the mistake in change that they have a very clearly defined future state, as in they have benefits, they have vision, they might have a step-by-step plan for how to actually make the change. And all of those things are important. I'm not saying that, but if you have only that and you show that to people, people will say, okay, yeah, I see how this is a fantastic idea. This is great, good for you. I'm going to stick to my thing. Right? I'm going to stick to the thing that I know, that I've been doing all my life. Thank you very much. Better the devil you know, right? For those who are not familiar, fantastic song originated by Kylie Minogue, later on covered by Steps. And you can see the picture of that on my screen here. So homework from today's session, go on YouTube, search for Steps or Kylie Minogue, Better the Devil You Know. That should be the theme tune to any work you do as a change manager. Okay. I'm not going to play it here because you will literally have it in your brain for the rest of the day, and you probably don't need that. Anyway, how do we then help people let go? How do we get people to recognize that the current state isn't working, and to get them to accept that they have to let go so that they can move forward and embrace the future state? There are two questions we have to answer. The first one is why? Okay, why can we not stay in the current state? And here again, it's easy to fall into a trap of kind of explaining how good the future state will be. Why do we need to change? Well, because if we change, we will save so much money, or we will be so much faster, or our customer will be so much happier, or you will be so much happier or healthier, or whatever it is. And it's easy to do this, but again, that means we're focusing on the future state. Okay, people aren't ready to embrace the future state yet. We need to tell them first why the current state isn't working. All right, so discredit the future state, explain why it's not a workable solution. And the other thing you have to do, you also have to create a sense of urgency. And with that, I mean, you have to explain why now. So why do I need to move from the current state, and why do I need to do it right now? And that second question is incredibly important, and it's recognized by another, not to keep listing a bunch of theories, but one really famous expert when it comes to change is John Kotter. He's almost the father of modern change management. He wrote a very famous article in 1993 called 8 Reasons Why Change Fails. It's available for free. It was in Harvard Business Review, so homework too. You can Google that. One of his 8 reasons is failure to create a sense of urgency. Right? And if you think about, for example, climate change, most people today agree that climate change is a real thing, and most people accept that they do need to change behaviors, etc. Most of us in the back of our heads probably think, yeah, but I can do that next year, or I'll do it in 10 years time, or next Monday, or whatever it is, right? It's so failure to create that sense of it has to be now can cause a change to fail. A technique for this that's quite common, quite well used, a little bit controversial for some, is called a burning platform. Now, a burning platform, it's an analogy, or it's a story. It comes from a real example where there was an accident on an oil rig. There was a big explosion and people had to evacuate to the top of the oil platform. And they were standing there and they had been instructed to wait, never leave the platform, because then you would jump straight into the North Sea, which is where this was happening. So they were standing there waiting to be rescued. And it dawned on a small group of people that nobody was coming. Something had gone wrong, so no one was coming to rescue them. And their only option for survival was to jump off the burning platform. Now, they didn't really want to jump into a dark and stormy North Sea, but they realized our only option is this: get off the burning platform. So a burning platform is a way of, I think it's a way of approaching the current state. And it's about you being able to articulate in a way that makes sense to the people that need to change why they are standing on a burning platform. Like, why do they have to step away from the current state? And it's very important that it's not about you fabricating or making up a burning platform. The burning platform is about articulating the reason that is already there. I think if you try to manipulate or fabricate it, people will see through it quite quickly, and it won't. It undermines your change effort. And also, for me, I think it's quite a telling thing if you're managing a change and you're thinking, oh, I better formulate the burning platform, and you can't find one. That might be a sign that actually your change shouldn't happen, because change for change's sake isn't a good thing, right? And that's why people will react the way they do when you introduce a change. It's why they will ask that question, why? So that was in 18 minutes or a little bit less even, the current state, why the current state matters, and what you need to do about the current state. So defining the why now in a way that makes sense to people, and consider using a burning platform as one tool. Thank you. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Karin. So hopefully that's given people just a couple of things that they need now to understand to do before we even start on delivering a change. So first of all, acknowledge that it's really scary for people. It might not be scary for you, but it's definitely going to feel uncomfortable for some. So we have to acknowledge and recognize that and kind of almost build that into the next step. So creating that or understanding that burning platform, why this, why now, is one of the key questions that we ask before we start any kind of consulting work. It's like, why this, why now? Because if it's someone's pet project, I'm sure we've all been involved at some point with someone's pet project, then eventually we might get some momentum at the beginning, but the momentum will wean off if people don't really see the why. People will try to revert back to what they're used to doing, and as Karin said, it's better the devil you know, so I'm going to stick to what I know. And then the really important part is, once we understand that why, is to articulate it authentically. So it doesn't have to be the whole organization or the team is on fire, but we do need to be able to articulate it authentically, not inflate the good things that are going to happen, and remembering that what you perceive as a benefit of a change might not feel the same for somebody else. So the humans are actually really important, and we know, as Karin said, that changes fail, and a lot of the time the reason for that, and when we ask why it didn't, and when we asked why it didn't in our community event about this topic, a lot of it was around getting the people ready. And so defining the current state is how we get people ready. And these couple of techniques, like developing the burning platform, like acknowledging and understanding and finding out why it's scary for somebody else, are going to really help you to start down the process. Thank you so much for taking the time today, spending 30 minutes of maybe your lunch break, maybe your breakfast break, depending on where you are. We hope you've, picked up on a couple of techniques, and we'll see you at the next one, which is all about defining the future state. Karin, any final thoughts?
No, just thank you everybody for taking part. It's great to see that this is a topic that people are interested in, because change management and project management go hand in hand, right? And you can't get value from your project unless you also do change management. So it's great to see. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you at the next one.
Bye-bye.